Good morning, Peter. Thanks very much once more. Good morning, TNA team led by Mohsin Williams, who set the bar very high this morning. Good morning, SABC, Transnet, always trying to bring us together here. Thanks very much. I see my chiefs here. Many of them are here, and I'm very, very happy to see them here. And I see all of you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I don't intend tabling here what we're doing as a department yet. There's a debate today in Parliament, and hopefully a lot of you will attend the debate. It's going to be on this subject matter that brought us together here this morning. And the Chief Whip of the majority party in Parliament will lead the debate. We will be participants there in support of that beautiful and handsome man sitting there. Now briefly, I just want to say that this morning is part of a program, a bigger program. I'm sure, Peter, you've been briefed about that. There's a bigger program later this morning, you'll be invited to go out on a tour, or a walk-through tour, as we call it, somewhere here in this big building here. We'll take you through. Some guys are here. There are guys here who, with no gender connotation, there are guys here who will take us through a tour of South Africa, a little bit of pre-colonial South Africa, colonial South Africa, to the point where that's Union South Africa now, or the post-Union South Africa, through the apartheid era of South Africa to the democracy. So you'll be taken through that tour, and you are invited to give your interpretations when you see that, and you'll be given facilities there where you can actually speak to some gadget, and it will capture what you say, because at the end of this year, we would like to have an oral history book written. It's your history. We want to hear what you say about this thing which happened to our country. So this is a very important day. The president later this morning will be our guest, and he will talk to us. So that's perhaps why we think we should leave it to him, and later this evening also there'll be a gala dinner. He will be addressing us. So we have the president today. I think we should clap for that one. I think really, it's not always that you have the president in the morning and you have the president in the evening. Tomorrow it will be open for everybody, and we would really like and invite South Africans to come along and be part of that journey. But secondly, it's going to be, we want to take it through all the 9 provinces. This is a national launch, it's not a provincial one. So the Western Cape, we're going to end it here, where we started. We're going to end it here, and we would like to invite the Khoi and the Sun to actually give it a character of the Khoi and the Sun. When we end it, we'll come back here. And Peter, I hope you'll be again here that morning. So we're going to run through the provinces, what you'll see today and tomorrow out here. We want to take it we want to take it rather to all the provinces across the country. But we'll end it here. And when we come back here, it won't be a national launch, it'll be a Western Cape part, Western Cape one, and it will have to assume a Khoisan character. Now it's a challenge to the Khoi and the Sun. It all started here. It will again end up here. Thirdly, I just want to read you one small thing. You know, I like to follow some of the things people say, and you know, there's a couple, Kerry Miller and Pope. They wrote a book going by the title, which is very interesting. Title Deeds in South Africa, I think. Land title in South Africa. These beautiful South Africans read this thing. I just like this part which they wrote. They say, Jan van Riebeeck kept a diary. And they say on the 10th of February, 1655, this is what was entered in the diary. It says, a delegation of Hottentots threatening attack and robbery responded to a proposal of trade by stating, I quote, that we were living upon their land, and they perceived that we were rapidly building more and more. We're building more and more as if we intended never to leave. And for that reason, they would not trade with us anymore cattle. On the same day, the journal records the following, I quote, about 59 of these natives wanted to put up their huts close to the banks of the moat of our fortress. And when told to, in a friendly way, in a friendly manner, by our men to go a little further away, they declared boldly that this was not our land, but theirs, and that they would place their hearts wherever they chose. This was 1655, a long time ago, and that was the beginning. It all happened here, and those were the Khoi and the San. They were the first line of defense when our country was invaded by colonialists. So it's very important. Now, but of course, during Union, we then got this land, Natives Land Act, and we got these books. I know that these guys were creative in our department. They write this, and I like what they've quoted here from the law. They say, a native shall not enter into any agreement or transaction for the purchase, hire, or other acquisition from a person other than a native of any such land or of any right thereto, interest therein, or servitude thereover. It's fascinating. And I find this is exactly, partly, this is how a gentleman by the name of Philippus Mpape, this is what he says about this law. It's a very nice thing. He says this. This is what he says in a letter he wrote to what is referred to as a sub-native commissioner at Petersburg on the 27th of November, 1917. He writes this small Anyana piece. He says, there is another awful branch of this bad law, that a native is not allowed to hire a white's farm by money, except by working for nothing. Boroko. This is Marianne Lacey, a South African who was a teacher at Rhodes University. He's passed on now. In the book, Working for Boroko, she starts this book with this quote. It's a fundamentally important point. But listen to this. I like these small things that come through here. People talking about this. This another wonderful South African, Andre Brink. I know, I'm not talking about Sol Plaatje today. There's a Sol Plaatje legacy sitting there, physical, with 2 legs. That's a descendant there, direct descendant. Please rise, sir. Just Sol Plaatje. Today we're going to hear the president say something about him. We said a lot about him. We're going to say it again this afternoon. Forget it. Not now. Not this moment. Now, but the last one, Peter. Listen to this one. Bring writes this book, Philida. We've seen this book, most of us. But what I like on it is this. You see, this one says, this one is during, Bring writes, he says this, because he starts part 1 by a complaint by a young slave woman, Philida. He says, on Saturday, 17th November, 1832, after following the elephant trail that runs between the village of Franschhoek, past the farm Zandvliet, to the small town of Stellenbosch near Cape Town, the young slave woman Philida arrives at the drossie with its tall white pillars, where she is directed to the office of the slave protector, Main Beer Lindenberg, to lodge a complaint against her owner, Cornelius Brink, and his son, Francois Jacob Brink. The young slave woman tells how the interview unfolded between her and the slave protector. He asks me, she writes, she tells the story. When did Francois bring first? When was it that the two of you began? You know what I'm talking about? And she says, 8 years ago. He asks, you sure about that? How can you be so sure? She says, yeah, it is 8 years. I tell you, my Groot Bas, I remember it very clearly because that was the winter when Obas Cornelius take a lot of us into a cab to the man they hanged. That slave, Abraham, on the castle gallows. And it was after we come home from there to the farm Zandvliet that it began between France and me. Now, this is fascinating. You see, 2 months ago, we had a national Khoi and San dialogue in Kimberley to discuss, to begin the discussion and conversation on how do we take forward the announcement by the president that the descendants of the Khoi and the San will get an exception to the 1913 cut-off date in terms of land claims because they were dispossessed long time before the 1913 cut-off date. It's very important. One of the participants there, Dr. Langeveld, I call him Mr. Government. I hope that one of these 2 days, Mr. Government will have some say. I don't know if he is here or not. Mr. Government. Now, you see some of our chiefs sitting here, they were there. Mr. Government says, you see, my grandfather was a British, my grandmother was a Korana. Now, this is South Africa now. This is South Africa now. It's a South Africa now. Eh? It's a South Africa that's beginning to reflect non-racialism. Now, he says, you know, we think that the castle, remember the castle, Philida and the castle here, the gallows near the castle? He says, the castle should be transformed into a place of healing because at the beginning, it was a place of pain and oppression and discrimination. So this castle, that is why we went to that castle and had our post budget speech, lunch, whatever you call it. And Mr. Government was there. And most of the people sitting in front of me, I can see some of my chiefs, they were there. It's because we're trying to look at South Africa from the past, that is pre-colonial time, that's what we'll see there, into colonial time, into union and post-union, apartheid, post-apartheid, towards where we are now, that journey. So this discussion is not supposed to be an emotive discussion. Yes, land is emotive. It is a discussion today and tomorrow. It is a discussion which is supposed to reflect what happened to us. How do we respond to it now? So we've got a range of policies that are meant to address this question of dispossession of South Africans of their land through colonialism and apartheid. Thank you very much, Peter. Those were my parting shot. Sorry, Mohsin, I didn't get close to your bar. Thank you.